Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Provider Podcast. This is your host, Kobe Pierce, and co-host.
Leifur Steinn Gunnarsson.
I run a hosting service called Hybrid Hosting, and Leifer works for Path.net. Today, we'll be going into an interview with Paul Tracy and going over a few things about him, the company he runs, and game service providers.
I met Paul in 2019 or 2020 when he acquired my first company. I was about 16 years old at the time. Ever since, I've had brief discussions with him, and he now employs one of my very good friends, Austin Johnson, who recently got his bachelor's in business ad. Congratulations. Now, Paul, you are the chief executive and founder of Spark Toast. You are a Utah Business 40 under 40 member and an alumni of the Make-A-Wish Foundation, and could we say an ex Make-A-Wish kid? Could you go into that a bit and just explain what you do and what you don't?
Hello, everyone. It's a great opportunity to be here and be interviewed. I started Sparked in 2017. Didn't think it would get as big as it would. Now it's probably a top 20 game server provider in the industry. We oversee many data centers now and 10,000 clients.
I mean, Spark is a big deal. It started from a pretty small one. I remember when you acquired TeamsNet, even though I wasn't a lot in the conversation in the acquisition. Spark is a big company. Even then, 2020, 3 years in, you were pretty sizable. Could we say the growth came from your work, your dedication to the project, even though you had difficulties when starting it up?
Yeah, starting the company in high school was honestly really fun. For everyone listening, I was a Make-A-Wish kid. My high school years, I've had 20 surgeries on my lungs. I went through 13 collapsed lungs, both happening on both sides. I was in and out of the hospital consistently for a few years. And I started the company within the first year that it started happening. I just did it for fun. I didn't have any ways of making money. I just coded Minecraft plugins before and made Minecraft networks and decided to go step up and try and do something cool. We honestly started off originally as a Shockbyte reseller. We literally used a Shockbyte reseller plan. They have this reseller thing, and you connect your WMCS module to it. You pay a ridiculous amount per gigabyte. It was ridiculous.
And you completely own all of your infrastructure. So that's
Yes.
a big step up. We're going to talk about, as Kobe mentioned briefly, Shockbyte, Sparked, of course, but these are game service providers, or GSPs. We're going to talk about what they are, the market they're in, how Spark Toast works, and then go into the story about the difficulties in starting up the business. So let's start with the GSPs. Could you tell me what defines a game service provider or a server provider?
I try my best to do this on the chairlift, when random people are asking me what I do for work. Game server provider is pretty simple. Video games, we provide multiplayer server hosting for players playing on third-party video games that allow third-party hosters like us, like Minecraft, Ark, Rust.
So people join or buy a service from you so that they're able to create this community that others can join. I'm saying that correctly?
So everyone will buy a monthly subscription, and they'll usually keep it for about a few months, and they'll run their server. They'll get their friends on it or create big servers or modded servers and try to create a network. Yeah, they'll play video games. Pretty simple. That's the game server provider.
It's pretty simple. I think why we started it so young, it's something you can easily get into. The ease of access to market. The MVPs here, the minimal viable product is something you download for free. It's all open source. And that leads to a lot of free area to do business, but also a lot of scams involved. But you are not a scam. You're a multi-million-dollar company now. So tell me, what is Sparked, and what are your unique selling points in terms of the game service providers, the others? Could you go into that?
Yeah, so we eventually got into owned hardware, as we were briefly touching on. We bought some low-end HP, like G7s back in the day, and co-located them in Dallas for like $40 a month. And Dallas was cheap, and power was actually cheap.
So you
Um,
bought hardware, you bought these computers and stuck them into a data center, lease servers from there,
yeah.
various both servers.
So we released budget Minecraft hosting $1 gigabyte. And back in the day in 2018, it was like only us and Skynode really who were doing that sort of pricing. And so I think that's
Wow.
really where we started in the market, was just being really affordable.
Hmm.
And then we eventually released a higher end line for about $2 gigabyte with Xeon E3s called Premium. We didn't get into DDoS protection yet. My main goal in the beginning was just to be as active as I could, especially having Discord support, like Discord tickets and
Mhm.
Discord community. Being on Discord as much as I could to respond to customers instantly. When you're small, you have way less money and no SEO advantage.
Consultants to fix your problems, you got to do it yourself.
Yeah, yeah, and you're playing against the big dogs, so you got to do whatever you can to work hard. So being in the hospital a lot, I was able to provide for customers.
Yeah, I think I learned that being very active with your customers leads to better churning. Yeah, they don't leave
Yes,
as early, and
yeah,
you
for sure,
want to get them to stick around for the community's sake as well.
for sure. Like,
Discord is an app that provides you this community to talk to people. In this case, you have this community of customers. They're able to connect with you, connect with other customers, talk about their issues, talk about the pros and cons of the company. And if you do that in your way, it might lead to better churning.
yeah, I mean, our
Very
main
smart.
customers were people who didn't have much money, so they're getting $1 gigabyte hosting, and they don't want to make a ticket on WGMCS. So having Discord support back in the day was a great way to make sure they stayed, and also to stay in touch with them on a one-on-one basis. Now, as we've grown, we remove Discord tickets. It's impossible to
Exactly.
keep going for 10 to 11,000
Mhm.
people. But that was really the way we got into the market, just our pricing. We didn't have any special panel yet. I don't think we had Cosmic. Yeah, we didn't have Cosmic Guard yet. DDoS protection wasn't growing in the moment. Path really wasn't big in
Yeah, we were not.
2018. And
We were founded in 2018 and pivoted in 2020.
those special DDoS providers were not a thing until
Exactly. So
2021.
you had in your time when you were starting, you'd say that, or I'll explain a brief explanation for the listeners. DDoS mitigation or protection. Well, the active service of making sure that servers, computers, networks stay online in the event that they get overloaded by malicious actors. People will try to stress them down so that they collapse or overheat or they can't handle it. And essentially, and when Paul was starting out, they had no such access. Servers were vulnerable, but I am guessing that these attacks weren't as cheap and they weren't as abundant as they are today, because with the growth of the internet up to lately, we've seen attacks go up to 4 or 5 terabits, right? So I think it wasn't as big of a requirement as it is now to have DDoS protection.
I'm trying to think who we used back in the day. It was Sykes Network. Like their DDoS protection was like honestly good enough back in the
Very
day.
good. Shout out to William Lowe.
And it worked. We didn't have servers go down because of it. I think our main issues back then were we were having our website hit off a lot for sure.
I know some people that did that back in the day.
I personally have a question. Uh, how do you think you took your small scale game service provider and got it up to this point? Is there some certain defining moment, or was it just kind of growth upon itself over time?
Yeah, I think there's some important moments for sure. Getting into owned hardware was really important for us. That allowed us to scale. I remember in 2018 we bought a host called Kleinix Host. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it. We bought them and it doubled our customer base. We had like a crazy deal with them, and Dan offered them more money, but they had already agreed to a deal a couple hours before. So we took the provider.
You got it on the basis of contract law. First protected offer is binding.
I remember that really helped us as my lungs started to collapse more often. I had more surgeries. It actually did really play to an advantage of having time. I got out of a lot of school things in high school so that I could work on the company. Being in the hospital, the only thing I could do was work on the company. And so I was like basically working full time as a kid.
What did your parents think about? Were they
Um, my parents loved what I was doing, but they really believed I should have gone to college. They were annoyed at how my priorities were different than what they thought they should be, though they were proud for sure. I got into some arguments with my parents over it, but I still worked my ass off. My parents were still somewhat strict and wanted me to go to school. So I remember they wouldn't let us have our phones in our room at night, even in high school. So I couldn't work after 10 or 11 p.m. So I had to get up for school at 6 a.m. But I would set an alarm on my alarm clock for 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. sometimes. I would wake up, go downstairs, go on my computer for an hour, and then go back to bed. I would cut my sleep off a little bit and go back to bed. Like,
that's incredible.
yeah, I would do things like that. But just like the things you have to get the extra edge to win, and I did those things. And I remember being in the hospital right out of surgery. Sometimes I would still go and do tickets because I know no one has done tickets in 24 hours or whatever. Like I have to go and get them, even if I'm sitting here with a high fever after having like a major lung surgery. I still did that, and I wanted to, and that's what it took to win. 2019 was the biggest year for us for sure. I remember we went from around $3,000 in revenue at the start of the year, 12,000 by the end of the year in a single month. And honestly, I think it was just a big year for Minecraft in 2019. PewDiePie was playing in 2019 and Fortnite was starting to take a dial down. We also bought the Beast Hosting, a Spanish-based Minecraft provider.
Wow.
We bought them in 2019 and they doubled our size. We took on 2,000 clients, paid around $5,000 for the company, and they were doing a few $1,000s a month in revenue. That really helped us as
A
well.
lot of your support knows Spanish, or
Yeah, that really set our company as a Spanish host right away. We're very known in the Latin America community, and that was definitely a big deal. Then we started getting into Miami. A few months after that, we launched in Miami. So,
that
like,
bridges the way to South
rights for that.
America. So
I have a quick question. What was your experience getting into Utah 40 under 40? What was the experience with that, and how did that affect Sparked, and how did you see it in your life?
I randomly met a guy, craziest story. I had a client who we had to change our sales tax and how it worked because I moved from Connecticut to Utah. The company moved, and so I had to change sales tax for Utah clients specifically because there was now a county line and a state line. It just happened to add up to the same percentage as Connecticut's sales tax. Because of the two lines, though, there's a rounding error for one client. His invoice was off by 1 cent, and his PayPal subscription didn't send fully. He was confused about it. I saw he was from Utah, and we met up, and he brought his boss. This guy was already in the Utah business, 40 under 40 in 2008. I just randomly happened to meet this guy because of a client. And so we ended up becoming friends. He nominated me to the 40 under 40. We wrote this big paper on my life, my health crisis, Make-A-Wish, and building the company. I got in about a year
I
ago.
remember seeing on a LinkedIn about a year ago.
Yeah, and I remember they took me into this big skyscraper. It was the local Utah news channel called KSL. They do all the TV for Utah, and they took my photos and an interview on me. I bought that special yellow striped suit for the photo because I also wanted to get the yellow in there for Spark.
Yellow.
And then a few months later, we had the actual event at this 5-star hotel. We had lunch. It was like a lunch. It was decent food. I guess it could have been a little bit better, but
Yeah, I'll tell them that when I move to Utah. Or maybe Austin will get it. You'll tell them that the Wagyu was not A5.
And speaking on, you're talking about writing up a bit on your life story and your Make-A-Wish experience. What was that like, specifically about Make-A-Wish?
so I have a great story for Make-A-Wish, and I've never really told anyone it and what I ended up using my wish on. Really cool.
First ever.
So I got my Make-A-Wish when I was 17. Originally, one of my ideas was I really liked Mr. Beast at the time. I thought, what if I met this guy? And I got into a YouTube video with him and gave Spark a shout out. And then all these customers started coming here. My idea was about growing my company and
Oh,
everything.
Honestly,
Honestly,
hold on.
I'm glad I didn't do that because I don't think I would have liked meeting Mr. Beast anyways, especially lately. He actually canceled. So I did get given the Mr. Beast thing, but he actually canceled. He said like, "Hey, like we're putting this off like indefinitely. Like we don't have an idea of like when we're gonna do it." So I was like, "Well, okay, let's just pick a new one." And so I remember like Michael Jordan's documentary came out on like the last run, and I was like, "Yo, this guy Michael Jordan's cool. Like this guy would be sick to talk to."
This guy, Michael Jordan, who is he?
And so I like said I wanted to meet him, and then COVID hit, and they're, "Oh yeah, like you can't meet this guy unless it's over Zoom." And I'm like, "Okay, never mind. Screw that." And so I graduated high school and I moved to Vermont. And once I was 19, like Make a Wish was like, "You still haven't used your wish. Like you got to use this thing." And so they gave me the idea to use it on server hardware. Um, so they ended up buying me in the company 2 like decked out Epic servers.
Gee, it's pretty cool.
They're 64 core and then 2 Ryzen servers. So that's what I got from Wish. I got 4 decked out servers.
The Make-A-Wish Startup Accelerator. This is
Wow.
amazing.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
have to have some health crisis.
I want you to.
Yeah.
What have those made? How? What was? If we go back in time,
Have we done the ROI?
Yeah.
As the ROI is definitely insane. I mean, those servers are sitting in Buffalo right now. We opened a half rack with Data Wagon when we got those, and I also bought some other servers, and we opened. I think that was our 3rd rack at the time, or like 3rd pop. And now, like I mean, I think some of them are still used. Well, I think all of them are still used, and then the Epics are used for like a ton of stuff because they're huge, like Discord bot hosting and infrastructure and whatnot. And yeah, I think we pack a lot of Discord bots on some of those nodes in Buffalo. So yeah, I think that's what they're used for.
Are you the only person who's done this with your wish? You've gotten them to buy you something. Just yeah, buy you
Um,
something that gives you a revenue, like a revenue stream. Basically, it buys
I think
buys
I
you revenue
probably
for
might be
scaling.
one of the only ones for sure. It was a weird wish for sure. I also like I was never like in like crisis of dying or anything, so I appreciate it. And I mean, most of the kids getting Make a Wish are like 5 years old and they're about to
Wow.
die from cancer or something. So like I feel very fortunate to
Bless
have been given this and get the award. I mean, I went through a lot, but some of these people like actually die and don't make it. So you know, yeah, it's the fact that that
I mean,
happened
it's a
is
beautiful
crazy.
organization, and I applaud them for doing anything to help a dying kid. I mean, wow. But what does
Yeah.
it mean to be an alumni? Like, is it just you've graduated? You've gotten your wish. Does that make you an alumni? And
Yeah, yeah, it makes me an alumni.
Mhm.
I'm an ambassador for the Utah Make a Wish
Yeah,
organization as well. I've considered helping out there and helping give wishes out. I just haven't had time, but I've been in contact with them,
sure.
and they were aware of my award. And I know Make a Wish Connecticut also made a Instagram post about me like a year ago,
Wow.
congratulating me.
On the Utah 40 and 40, or
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. Well, that's good on them. They're looking after their kid.
So from the servers, right? You're investing those into your company Spark Toast. What was your approach, your market approach for Spark Toast, and how is it like shifted from your original standpoint? You said you were doing cheap servers and just getting people that barely could afford them. Has that approach changed at all? And do you have any future plans to shift it even more?
yeah. So we've shifted a lot actually, and I mean we compete now with Shockbite and you know these Apex and these main
These
providers that
SEO guys, these guys who
yeah,
run
yeah.
the Google ads, right? The big
Yeah,
ones.
so, like, I don't think people look at us and think of us as this budget provider anymore. I think people think of
No,
us as
that
affordable.
was when I was getting into this. I mean, looking at 2018, 19. I'm buying servers. I see Pebble Host, Sparked, uh, Lemon Q. No, what is it called? That's the server. What is it? Citrus something or Lime Note or whatever it was. But yeah, no, and if you Googled Minecraft server, you wouldn't get any of those. You'd get Apex, MC Pro, Nitrodo, which are now all the same company, but we'll get into that. And so I mean, that's not the case today. It's
Yeah.
different,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, so, I mean, in the beginning, we would I mean, I think we were just mainly our budget was our $1 gigabyte budget hosting was our biggest thing, and, we opened up a half rack in Dallas, I remember, and we put a ton of these, like, HP G8s, in there, and they're power suckers, and we're sitting there using a ton of power. That was our main thing, and then I think when COVID happened is really what changed everything. When COVID happened, our sales doubled, like, immediately. We were out of nowhere, like, doing over $20,000 a month in revenue,
Mhm.
and I think that's when I really realized, "Okay, like, I need to skip college and, like, really focus on this." And I think that's when we shifted as well. Like our enterprise, our premium $2 gigabyte stuff just started selling out like crazy. And I think we just really started to make somewhat of a name for ourselves. And I think also the Minecraft versions, like 1.16 came out in 2020. And I think just the versions of Minecraft and the CPU power that they needed really forced our company to change to mainly selling these higher
Yeah, so
end
you're
servers.
dynamically adapting what the market needs. You're not sticking to like defining yourself by one principle other than maybe just reliable service, but you're adapting to market conditions as any company would do. And yeah, I think that's fantastic. And another pivot you spoke about earlier before the podcast was the fact that you may get into infrastructure as a service more. If I'm guessing correctly, it is currently one of your kind of off the shelf products or something you don't advertise as heavily. Infrastructure as a service by that dedicated servers,
Yeah,
co-location,
yeah.
IP transit, whatever. Could you get into that a bit? Yeah, because we've covered
Ye
that on the podcast, and our listeners should be pretty familiar with what we're talking about. That's
yeah,
something.
so, I mean, eventually we got to having 2 full racks in Dallas, and then we, uh, opened up 2 full racks in Miami, and then we got to, like, a full rack in Buffalo, and then, like, a half rack in LA, and then we just started to sell dedicated servers kinda out of nowhere, um, and, using Ryzen hardware. Like, I think during the down seasons we would just have it leftover hardware and we would just start selling some dedicated servers. But it really didn't start until like a year ago when we really just had a ton of customers in Latin America ask us for dedicated servers. Like they simply do not really like reliable site in Latin America. They don't like their Miami location really. And so we had a couple Spanish speaking representatives who knew a lot of people in the community, and so we just started getting random, like, big Minecraft server networks coming over to Sparked and using our dedicated servers. So we just started, like it was a lot of capital up front, and I was trying
Yeah.
to compete with a reliable site in Miami, so I tried to, you know, do that pricing and whatnot, and, we would ship out servers here and there with pre-builds, and we would set up we would give them, like a $50 setup fee to, like, ship it to Miami and whatnot, and then they would just stay, and we started adding racks and on racks and racks, and then we also, like, moved to Salt Lake from LA a year ago as well, which really gave us the ability to sell dedicated servers. It's expensive, as I will say that, but, uh, now we have, like, I think, over 500 active dedicated servers in our DSIM, um, and we have 5 racks in Miami. And most of that is literally just dedicated servers
Wow,
Miami's our
500 units, right?
yeah.
That's a lot. I
Yeah,
mean, that's a
Miami
lot
is
of
our
money.
biggest location for dedicated servers. It's literally just like people just want there's like no other option, to be honest, in Miami
Mm.
for dedicated servers other than us and a reliable site. And we have I think we originally started with Path through Bivy or Frantech, and we had a cross connect there, but it was a little bit unreliable because I think Frantech was tunneling the path. And then we eventually moved to NeoProtect, and our sales really blew up there because NeoProtect is actually pretty decent. Um, and everyone just started buying out dedicated servers. And so our market has really shifted a lot. I think 20% of our revenue comes from dedicated servers out of nowhere. And a year ago, it was probably like 5%. But it really gives you a like just a backup source of revenue. Like whenever Minecraft may go down in popularity, like your dedicated server sales are still there to make sure your revenue stays afloat and doesn't drop a whole lot. And that's really important for business. So
So, do you see any crossover between your dedicated servers and your Minecraft customers? And how do you think they affect each other at all?
that's a good question. We've been trying to answer that a little bit this year. I don't think it affects it that much. We usually have dedicated servers as more of a private, like it's on our website, but we don't sell them like automatically too much. And usually, if someone has a couple Minecraft servers, honestly, okay, you're just going to give us more revenue if you upgrade to a dedicated server. So it really has not affected us too much. I will say, in regards to investment and capital, it's a lot more. As though, like obviously, if you want to sell a Ryzen 5700X with 128 gigs of RAM, like you're only going to sell that for $99 a month or to like 120, somewhere around there is like the market price. But like you put a Minecraft, if you put that like on a Minecraft node of ours, you can oversell it by like 20%. That's a pretty safe margin. And then you sell it $2 a gigabyte. Next thing you're making over $200 for that node. So I guess that's one issue that we've realized is that investing in this hardware, like the ROI on dedicated servers is way longer for sure than shared
Yeah, I
hosting.
mean, but what is the support load between man hours?
Honestly, yeah. I see that's one thing like we don't mind about shared hosting is our support has gotten really good. Like we have 19 hours of the day covered in shifts, usually one or two people, and they're very good, very high quality representatives. And honestly, I can't even find tickets to do sometimes because they do them fast. So people do our Minecraft tickets very fast. Now, when it comes to dedicated servers, it requires more system admins, I guess. And we've hired people like Sagnick this year, who's been a great addition. Um, Sometimes some of these customers on the dedicated server front can be very, uh, what's the word? Just clueless. They should,
Yeah.
probably not have a dedicated server. And then next thing you know, you're kind of managing the server for them. But you don't really want to charge them extra because they're from Latin America or something, and they probably don't necessarily want to pay $50 more a month for a managed service. So
Yeah, maybe a less fortunate customer. Yeah, so you'd say they're usually more demanding than your sure hosting ones? Yeah.
honestly, yes, dedicated server customers have proven I mean, some of them are really good, but then there's some that are just, they're a thorn in your side
Mm,
and
of course.
and they end
That's
up
why
being
you
annoying.
charge more. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we get like 250 tickets a day, honestly, at
Wow.
the company.
200
Yeah.
today?
Yeah, yeah, but, I mean, I think right now we probably have less than 20 open right now, and that's usually
Mhm.
pretty good for us.
Yeah. That's very good.
So our support
250.
guys our support guys do a good job, and growing the support team has been something as well, just the pay grade now. Like, we used to, like, basically not pay our support reps, we, like, didn't have the ability to, and then, like, we were
Gotta hustle
paying,
again.
like yeah, then we were doing incentive-based, like, per ticket reply, and then
Mhm.
now we just pay only per hour. Um,
Yeah.
and honestly, a lot of our Latin American guys especially, like, they make bank, I think, for the country's standard of living, so
Yeah. Wow. I mean, that's very good for them. It's just working remotely.
Yeah.
knowing what they speak, what they know.
I have a quick question. Earlier, you were talking about while you were in high school, you're and getting out of high school, what your parents' opinions were on your company and running that. Whenever you ended up deciding to not go and focus on college and start working on the business, what did your parents think of that? And what do their parents think of the business now that it's all that it is?
That's a great question. When I started my senior year of high school, I made a promise to myself that if the company had gotten to 20,000 revenue in a month, 2 times by the time I graduated, then I would not go to college. And that happened in April of 2020 and it happened in May of 2020, like right before I graduated. I like felt like I had to like stick to that promise I made to myself uh, to do it. But the issue was I around then that we hired some bad people. I won't say who they were, but we did hire a couple bad people to help me run the tech side of the company, and then we had a huge falling out, and it was very public. It was a PR mess back in 2020, uh, and it looked horrible for us, and our revenue like started to dip a bit. People lost trust in us, and I was also like in the start of COVID, I had a collapsed lung even, and they wouldn't treat it. So I had a collapsed lung from March of 2020 to June of 2020. I was sitting at home with it all that time while I was working as well, like overtime. I mean, that was crazy for every hosting provider. Uh, I remember I was replying. I think I replied to 90 tickets a day, like in April of 2020 on average. Like there was so many coming in. It was insane. But yeah, I graduated and my parents like wanted me to go to college and I like didn't know how to tell them like, hey, like the company is first of all like was not doing as well as it was a couple months ago. And so I was a little embarrassed to tell them that. Uh and then second, I just like did not feel like going to college. I felt like I had to like fix this and I still believed in the company and I remember like we dipped from 20,000 in revenue. I think we got to like 23 in May of 2020. And then we dipped like 13,000 like a few months later. And it was like that's like a huge dip. And I was like I was just horrified because I was like, well, I can't really show my parents that. Like that just does not look good to like tell them, hey, this is why I don't want to go to college because my company dips. Like
Shit. But then you
so
come out and you buy me what is that? September? No, is that
no, we bought we
2021?
we bought HeimsNet in 2021 actually in
Yeah.
February. So anyways, as college is getting closer, I honestly just missed the deadline to sign up for classes and stuff on purpose. So that's what happened. And then my mom like kind of agreed to letting me take a year off and whatnot. And I moved to Vermont. We had like a little condo in Vermont, and so I moved into that. No one was using it, and I just focused on the company for an entire year. We bought HeimsNet, took Austin on board, um, and then Minecraft, the cave update, the first cave update came out in 2021, which was huge. And then we started fixing our colocation in Buffalo and Dallas. And so I think we got our revenue up by the end of 2021 to 50 grand.
Wow.
So
Okay, great. And has it been a steady roll since?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Good run.
So that was all my parents. So that my parents let me take a year off, but they still wanted me to go to college and we were doing college tours and I was acting like I was interested, but I wasn't really. I was just trying to fake it because I knew that like I honestly like believed in the cave update a lot and I believed in getting the colocation stuff out and upgrading our hardware to Ryzen's like because Ryzen started to become popular then. And so my parents eventually, once they saw that we were doing that much in revenue, they let me go. They saw that the company was doing well, and that was it. Um, Started to have the goal of moving to Utah. I remember I posted pictures of Park City, Utah, and my Vermont house all over the wall, and I kept like looking at it. That was my goal. It's not the Mormons. Yes, I'm a Catholic, so it's not the Mormons. Yeah, the skiing was huge. I really wanted to ski. I really loved skiing. Skiing helps me relax from working. It's honestly like the best thing, and I just loved being able
It's
to
the best
ski.
feeling in the world. I agree with you.
And then the big thing was that I really wanted to get to lower taxed state and with a better tax code. And, accelerated depreciation, if you guys are aware of that, is a huge word in hosting, especially when I'm buying equipment. And on
Yeah.
a state level for taxes, if you're buying all this equipment, which I thought, in the next 2 years, we were going to be buying a ton of equipment, and I was right. And then you want to be able to deduct that on your taxes. So, and I wasn't able to do that on my state taxes, and it was making our tax bills huge. So I moved to Utah. They had
Hmm.
lower taxes and better tax code. And I also did believe in Salt Lake, and I believed in the tech industry growing here. So that's why I chose Utah, and it's been very successful. Other than the fact that I have no family here, I'll be honest, that's been one struggle since I moved here. But I've made a ton of friends, and I have a girlfriend as well. So that's been nice.
Fantastic. Utah seems to be treating you well, I see.
Yes, it was hard in the beginning.
Those-
It was hard in the beginning because it's hard to get along with Mormons. They're very nice, but like they're very nice. Becoming friends with them, they don't like drinking alcohol. So,
That's right.
and I'm not saying I'm an alcoholic or something, but I like having a couple beers every now and then.
There's nothing wrong with good beer.
So, uh, but that's how Utah happened, and uh, I bought a condo here a few months ago. I made my first ever real estate purchase, so I was pretty proud of myself about that. And yeah, I'm living the life now here in Park City.
All right, fantastic. I think, Kobe, is there anything else we got covered? Paul, do you have anything you want to say? You want to speak about?
One thing I'd say, like my faith
Yeah.
in God has helped me a lot in my journey here, like believing in Christ and praying all the time
Nothing big, you know?
and praying through my health crisis was important. And that's, I think, been huge for the company to grow and just having trust in
Yeah.
God that everything would work out. I mean, it wasn't easy. 2021, 2022 were some of the toughest years of Sparks history.
I
That
can
was
only
working.
imagine, yeah.
Like we were growing fast and we had a lot of growth pains to deal with. And I was not sleeping at all. I had no free time. I didn't make any friends in Vermont when I lived there. So I just worked my ass off and, you know, prayed through it. And now
And
I
now we're
hope
here.
become, yeah, now we're here. And honestly, I have great friends
Yeah.
in the
You're a
same
great
faith.
friend. People look up to you. You're a voice in the industry. You're a voice here. And yeah, God is grateful for the investment he made and the returns he was given. And I think a beautiful way to end the podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. This has been the Provider Podcast. Next up is a continuation of
The next one.
continuation of our AI series, which we
Yes.
periodically began about a week ago. Paul, thank you for coming on. Thank you for telling your story. And I mean, if people are interested in knowing more, where can they find you? LinkedIn, Twitter?
Join the Spark Discord. I talk in Provider Legion sometimes. I'm on LinkedIn a lot. I use Twitter.
Use Twitter, yeah.
At DBoss Paul. My
Mhm.
LinkedIn just Paul Tracy.
We'll post your tags in the description. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Right. This has been your host, Kobe Pierce,
right.
Life for Staying Awesome, and your guest, Paul Tracy. Thank you guys for listening to the podcast, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.